guys, and welcome to Practical Magic Musings, the podcast where you get rituals and wisdom for your most magical life. I'm your host, Cassandra Bodzak, and today's episode is all about this new moon in Scorpio that we are having this weekend on Sunday evening, if you're on the West Coast like me. And it's going to be a little bit of a double feature special because I had kind of a different podcast I also wanted to share with you because of the Divine Body Challenge that's kicking off this Monday as well. But then when I was looking up the astrology of the new moon and kind of what's going on with this Scorpio energy, I thought, it's actually very much connected to the other thing I wanted to talk about. So we're going to do them both together because I don't believe that there are any coincidences or accidents, right? Everything is divinely guided and serendipitous. So first of all, I just want to say recently, I have just found myself really resistant to reading a lot of astrology online. I have felt like a lot of astrologers are a bit fear-mongering and negative. Women that I love that talk about astrology include Danielle Page, Jennifer Rassiopi, but there's a lot of stuff out there that I just think you have to protect yourself energetically from. So I want to give that disclaimer before I dive in. I think whenever you're reading something that instills fear in you or is perpetrating a potentially negative storyline. Like I really believe that we have such a responsibility as leaders, as people that are communicating things to the masses, about the story that we're infusing in other people's consciousness. And you have to be, as a listener, really conscious of the stories you're allowing other people to infuse in your consciousness, because it's actually not helpful. I remember about like a year ago now, I read this as astrological report about the moon that was happening, and it was like, oh, everything is going to be horrible in your relationship, and you might may break up, or something really bad is going to happen. And I was a wreck. I was so terrified. I think a lot of stuff like that sometimes is self-fulfilling prophecy, because then I was like paranoid, on the lookout, like a total freakazoid that weekend, and it did cause a lot of problems in my relationship, and ultimately that relationship ended. But I think we just have to be so careful about stuff like that. Astrology is not meant to instill fear in us. It's meant for us to listen to it and know how we can use it to honor the energetic cycles that are moving through our life. So that's why I like to do more intuitive astrology, which is just focusing on the new moon and the energy of the sign that the moon is in at that point. So you have this new moon, it's in Scorpio. Scorpio new moon right around Halloween. It's perfect, it's spooky, it's dark, it's creepy, it's transformative. Scorpio is the most intense of all the signs, right? And we can, and it represents death and rebirth and sex and transformation, right? It represents this, this more, I'm a Pisces, so I like to think, Pisces is the very spiritual sign that's more like fairies and magic and like rainbow colors and sparkles and glitter and and Scorpio is like the black and orange and like the darkness and the more stereotypical magic that we think of around Halloween. And neither is good or bad, right? They're just different flavors of it, right? There's something that's really great about that deep intensity, that sacred, holy energy that's willing to dance with the shadows, that's willing to go there. It's not all love and light. And sometimes for us to get to the next evolution of stuff, for us to overcome, we actually have to look at the shadow. We have to look at the darkness. We have to look at the things in our life that we're hiding under the rug, the things that we're, the secrets that we're keeping, the things that are quote unquote, hidden from plain sight, so to speak. And it's in looking at our darkness, because we all have it. And your darkness could be anything from, the negative self-talk that you have, the times that you scold yourself in your head. Your darkness could be the addictive behaviors that you have, or the unhealthy coping mechanisms that so many of us have, right? It could be anything from, feeling like you, whatever, like feeling a rage that builds up inside of you when your mom says something, or the fact that you go eat a cupcake when your boss says, a snarky remark. It could be the anger that you have under your breath, or maybe you curse someone under your breath when they do a frustrating thing to you, right? These are all elements of this shadow that we all have. It's human of us. And that way they said that about Jesus, regardless of what your religion is, that he was both human and both divine. And I really believe that Jesus is representative of all of us, right? Of he was representative of the sons and daughters of God as a whole, right? And so I think me and you are both 100% divine and 100% human. And Scorpio looks at that, right? It looks at that dark humanness that we all have, because our divinity is the one that is connected to love and light. Our divinity is the one that knows the path of love every single time. It is our human, it is our shadow. It is, our human is the part of us that's capable of putting the blinders on. It's capable of not seeing things from a place of love. It's capable of letting our triggers get to us, of letting our childhood programming get to us, right? All of these factors our human has, right? That our divine is able to see above and beyond. Our divine is able to look at it with the, let's say, holy vision, sacred vision. And our human is the one that has to dance with this stuff, this very, real stuff that we have to move through, our emotions, our history, the things that bring up different things inside of us. So this new moon in Scorpio is this energy for us to have a rebirth of sorts, for us to, burn ourselves in the fire, the alchemical fire, and rise like a phoenix from the ashes, right? So it is an intense new moon. It is a new moon that in a lot of ways has the energy of both a full moon and a new moon together, because there is that element of the sacred fire, right? Of the burning, the thing that's not meant for us anymore. When I think about Scorpio, I think about a snake that's shedding its skin, this skin that you're no longer fitting in. It's ready to come out, and you're ready to emerge out of that skin. But if you think about it, it's like, if you think about that moment, right, when the skin comes off. At first, right before the skin comes off, that's kind of when you're itchy, you're uncomfortable, it's stirring. So that's symbolic of that thing in your life that you're trying to ignore, that keeps on coming up. Maybe you're trying to ignore your finances, and you keep on getting bills, or you keep on getting surprising expensive, or you keep on getting alerts from the bank, right? It's almost like that's that uncomfortable, skin crawling kind of phase that's coming up, so that you can burst out of it, so that you can first have to look at it, first have to face it, so that you can release it. You have to face what's going on so that you can transform it. And so this new moon has a little bit of that energy, and it's going to depend. If you look at your birth chart, there's a bunch of free sites you can get your birth chart at. The one I usually recommend to people is Cafe Astrology. But you can go look at your birth chart and see where you have Scorpio. See what house you have Scorpio in. And then look up what that house means if you don't already know it. And that's going to be the area of your life, most likely, that you're feeling that skin itchiness, the skin shed, ready to be reborn. And for those of us that, for everyone, not those of us, I always say that if you don't know what house you have Scorpio in, or for me, I literally have Scorpio in my house of transformation, which is like a double. It is the house that Scorpio rules, right? So it's a very intense house, but it's also kind of like an ominous house, right? I don't know exactly what that means. It means that I'm gonna get hit probably with like an extra slice of transformation with this new moon, which I'm already feeling this past week in this cusp. And I'm so ecstatic to be on this new moon, or on the day after this new moon, be launching this divine body movement, which is me embracing my Scorpio, me embracing my shadow, right? So using that as an example, right? I had to look at my shadow. I had to look at the thing I wanted to keep ignoring. I wanted to keep ignoring the fact that one of my biggest pain points, one of my biggest struggles, the thing that I have overcome the most, that I still, have to constantly keep in its cage, is my relationship with my body. And this energy, this Scorpio energy that's bringing forth that, is actually going to bring forth that energy of what is that thing you need to transform. And often that thing, the final stage of that transformation, so there's different levels of that transformation, right? So for instance, going on that example, the first stage of transformation with that is what I'm going to be walking women through on this 5-day Divine Body Masterclass that I'm doing for free next week, right? And so what that is looking like a lot of what this Scorpio new moon is about. Looking at the areas you've been sabotaging yourself, looking at the way your negativity, the way you think about yourself, the way you talk about yourself, looking at all these little insidious behaviors and actually seeing the impact that it's having in your life, and then taking conscious steps to shift that, to transform it, to first of all shine the light on it so that we can dissipate it, right? But then take what that is and turn that, like alchemize that into gold. Right? So that's what I'll be doing with women around how they feel in their body and how they feel in their confidence and their radiance next week on the Divine Body Masterclass, right? And if any of you guys want to sign up for that, the link is in my Instagram bio. I'll put it in the notes section here as well. And so that was the first transformation that a lot of women will be led through next week. My transformation in leading that is the final healing stage of that transformation, because I went through that stage of transformation a decade ago. It doesn't mean I still don't do push-ups on it. It doesn't mean it's still not something that I'm always trying to re-up and make sure I'm taking care of. But now, this next level of transformation on transformation times 2 is transforming to the point where I'm now going to teach others how to heal the darkness that I have danced with. And this is that Scorpio energy, right? I had to, as I'm sure you have already in some place in your life, or you're going through it right now. And here's the thing, we have these little unravelings and awakenings in every single area of our life. So don't worry, you have them in every single area of your life. And what you'll find is throughout your life that certain ones will be darker and more twisty and a little bit more intense, right? So for instance, I had a transformation moment around money. I had a transformation moment around my romantic life. I've had a lot of those kind of different transformation moments, right? But none of them were as difficult were as kind of intense as my one around my body. The one around my body caused me the most pain, but therefore was also, in so many ways, had the most impact on my life when I was able to alchemize that. So Scorpio leads us into the center of the darkness. And once again, I don't say darkness with a bad connotation. It leads us into the darkness in our own soul so that we can bring light to it, so that we can transform it, because the shadows that we have, the struggles that we've had, that thing, that devil that you're dancing with, right, is your alchemical gold. You can make gold out of that. I mean, if you think about, I think a great example of this, I don't know how many of you guys follow her, but this woman, Holly, who is starting this sober movement, right? Perfect example of someone that really, and she's already impacting so many people with it, and there are other people that are also talking about the sober movement, but I firmly believe that Holly's going to have an incredible impact because it was truly the devil she danced with. It was truly, the snake she tamed, right? And I think we talked about a little bit of this in the last episode when we were talking about finding your calling and finding your niche and all of that. There is so much power in being able to dance with that, I mean, devil, again, it's a bad word, being able to dance with your shadow, being able to not be afraid of your own dark. And this new moon is going to bring you a lot of energy to be able to start something really beautiful based on some shadow that you have, right? And so it's not going to be all, rainbows and unicorns and hearts and butterflies. It's not going to be, I'm thinking it would be fun to start a gemstone pottery business because I like gemstones and pottery. Sorry. No, this moon is going to have you really looking at something you don't want to look at, And like I said, I shared a lot of this on the last episode. The event that came up recently that made me really look at this shadow of body image, this shadow of the negative drama, the shadow of the pressure around looking a certain way, and how that affects how you feel in your body, and how it not only affects me, even though I've come so far with it, even though I don't, do any behaviors or I'm not active in any of my, disorder or negative body stuff anymore. But that there's something that's will always be a sensitive point for me in that, because it is the devil that I dance with. It is the darkest cave that I had to navigate through to see the light, to get to the promised land. And so there was so much power in me being able to say, I'm going to show up for this. I'm going to navigate through this cave because it matters to me. Because when you see that thing that's your shadow, when you see that thing that's your kryptonite, when you face to face with the darkness in you, you also are given the path to the light. Because if you can hone that, if you can lasso that in, if you can sit face to face with that and say, I see you. We're not going down this way. And I see you. And I see how it's sabotaging me from becoming my highest self. I see you and I see how it's stopping me from getting the relationship I want. I see you and I see how it's stopping me from making the money I want. I see you and I see how it's stopping me from creating the impact I'm here to create in the world. Well, that's the gold. That's where the gold is. So, this Scorpio new moon, I don't even think, this moon is so intense, you're going to know. I think by the time you're listening to this or watching this, wherever you're watching it, you're going to know the shadow that's ready for you to harness. And this is a time for deep meditation. Scorpio is a very intensely spiritual sign. It is a sign for going inwards, for going deep, 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 deep into your depths. So do a really deep meditation. Do a long meditation that allows you to go deep, deep, deep into your subconscious. That allows you to go into that space. Maybe put on some gong or some singing bowl, something that really helps you get into that deep inner space so that you can see what's there. And here's the thing, like I said, during these moons, what happens is it kind of effervesces to the top, right? So you're going to see it. You're going to notice. It might be an old trigger that comes back. It might be something that, a couple people are going to say to you. Or you're going to be super sensitive about something. Or all of a sudden you're going to be like, maybe you're acting out in a way that is not good or not healthy or negative or whatnot. And you're going to catch yourself. Like you're going to have sight around it. And the work here is that you have choice, right? You have free will. So are you willing to sit down with it? Are you willing to really look at it? Are you willing to uncover what that thing is for you? Because if you are, it's going to pay dividends right now. Not only how you feel about yourself, not only how you move throughout the rest of your life, right? But there's real gold in being able to look at that and understand that your sickness is also your medicine. And that is something that, again, I'm reminded of time and time again, because not only as myself, as someone that's here to raise consciousness and empower women and make a difference in this world, but also as someone that works with a lot of women that are here to do the same thing and help them, remind them what their medicine is for the masses, right? This is that moon. To know, and again, like I said, there are definitely two different stages you can be at with this. It might be something that's coming up for you right now, and if you're in the first phase of it, like I said, if this is around your feelings about yourself or your feelings about your body or the way you think about yourself, right? Then I really do encourage you to join my Divine Body Masterclass. It's going to be a transformative 5 days. And I honestly don't think there's a woman out there that wouldn't benefit from it, because we all have a complicated relationship with our body and the way we feel about ourselves. And I think we could all benefit from feeling more confident and radiant and magical and magnetic in our own being. So I hope that you'll join me for that, especially if you're someone that's new to the podcast or new to me, because you'll get to know me a little bit better during it, and you're going to get some amazing tools that I think you'll be able to use time and time again, especially through the holidays, which we all get triggered by, right? But I think you should acknowledge, if you are in that first stage where you're looking at that thing for the first time, I am in no way saying that you should also launch a program about that. No, you need to take care of job number 1 first. You need to walk through the dark cave yourself first, get to the other side, and then you can go back and help bring other people through, right? So if you're in that first stage of the process with whatever is coming up for you right now, you need to take care of yourself. You need to be meditating, you need to be journaling, you need to be looking at this thing in the face. If there is someone you can talk to about it, even better, right? Book a session with someone that a therapist, or you can book a session with me, or book a session with a life coach, or someone that can hold a space for you to sit with this, and that's going to be able to allow you to walk through it gracefully, alchemizing the situation and being able to get to that other side. So you want to focus on that. If that's you right now, if that's the thing that's coming up, and for those of you who have maybe already lived through a dark night of the soul, who have ventured through that cave, who have shed the skin and emerged on the other side transformed, but of course still connected to this shadow, because it's not like we ever completely vanquish it, right? It's still part of our history. It's still, in our energy, because it is part of the medicine that we're here to give. We're meant to go on these journeys and be able to live on the other side to help other people through, right? And it's our hardest journeys that we're the best guides at, right? And so if you are at that point and it's something that's, a devil you've already danced with a bit, then the message here is to really look at, how can you give your medicine? Is there anything you need to clean up to be able to give your medicine? Is there a shadow of even having this situation at any point, of having this darkness at any point that you need to be honoring of, that you need to dance with before you can teach it? Is there a part of you that's resistant to teaching it? If it's a part of you that's resistant to teaching it, head on back to my last podcast episode, because it's going to be really helpful for you. You're going to have some ahas. So I hope this was helpful for you. And like I said again, if I think all of us, a great way to kick off your new moon is to be supported by me for these next 5 days in the free challenge, Divine Body Masterclass. Sign up in my Instagram bio. Sign up on the notes below. 5 days, and we're gonna be doing practices every day, so that by the end of the time, you're gonna feel like your most radiant, magnetic, divine self. And I can't wait to give that gift for you. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week on Practical Magic Musings.